Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 49th episode of Cultist Simulator, playing the Librarian run, where we're trying to get one copy of every book on the table by the time that we finish the game. Playing as Ivan Vucetich in the Detective Legacy. So, as is usual for Monday, it's been a little while since I played the game last, and I'd like to take a second here and just double check where I am in terms of the overall state. And this will just be nice because sometimes people check in on videos midway through. So, we had our Season of Ambitions coming up, so I've got the Scent of the Pages. We always set aside a reason for that, but the good news on it is that reason is the highest stat that I have. I've got 7 versus the 4. We used to have 5 for passion, but we lost 1 to a curse. There is a way to subvert reason to passion, and that is actually an option that basically I'm able to use that option now because I have a ritual, but whether or not it's a good idea to do such a thing is a whole other question. I've got a nice little supply of food for the spider's door, if I so choose. The real aim here, though, is to get to the real aim is to get to the wreck of the Christabel, which has the Frangiclave, and the Frangiclave will be what allows me to go to the Peacock's door without using a mirror. And the reason why we want to get to the Peacock's door without a mirror is that it costs a bronze spintra, technically also a silver if you are so inclined, or if you use the larger mirror. But essentially we have a finite number. We could essentially only do 8 trips, and my experience usually is that I go to the Peacock door much more than 8 times. So what we decided to do was push, essentially we wanted to push the upgrades. We wanted to push the expeditions. We wanted to make sure that those were going to the Evening Isles first, get the Frangiclave so that I have a little bit more of a reliable supply of Vagabond's maps, essentially, and then we can sort of double back and go through the Rending Mountains and so on and so forth. Working on pursuing an investigation. I do need to be rather careful about the Troublemaker at this point, because I am going to have the risk of Evening Isles locations on the table while I have a rival kicking around. We're entering the spider's door. We are upgrading to Vagabond's map, it looks like. Yep. Searching the city with the Callagine. This is essentially to make it survive, and I'm wondering why I've left the talk verb open, because I think at this point it would make sense for me to get more food for the spider's door, but I also could have done that at the start, or at the end of the last stream, so, okay. Well, we don't have a season, Season of Visions is coming up, we don't have a fascination that we need to worry about, so I am going to get Saliba to abduct someone. Cult business, seduce a stranger. A sufficiently persuasive disciple can probably hire a susceptible companion back to us. Okay, we do have the glimmering, so this is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. Provide glimmering or use a sanctuary. We always go to the Mallory here because the secret histories you get from the Chamber of Ways is actually lower than the one that you can get from the Mallory. Still, a secret history is better than none, but... Last night in the Mansus, I visited the Mallory, from whose engines and avenues one does not emerge unchanged. I watched the processes of sunset, and I entered the amber joy and the white joy and the blue joy, and I was subjected to the enlightenments of calcination, and the forge of days touched me with her burnished fingers, and I rise from my bed with the utter knowledge that all nights, all nights, all nights must end. Somewhere unusual. As you can see, the Callagine is not long for this world. We have a few options in terms of how we handle it. Okay, so I'll wait to see what happens after the Season of Visions before we decide what to do next. It may make sense to paint, but if I paint too early, then the glimmering's not available for the study anyway. Okay, season of sickness coming up, so there's not too much that I need to worry about. I think what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to let the inspector's position sort of run out the clock. I will hire the hireling. That's a nice source of people for the spider's door. The temptation is past for now. I can't remember if I have another step after this one, but it is going to get a little tricky. Essentially what I'm going to have to do, we've got the two Vagabonds maps, or two sets of Vagabonds maps. Okay, there is. So that would be the library, surely. No, Rarefied Mind, right. Okay, the Blaze of Radiance is going to be a bit of a liability here. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose impulses and rotations one does not emerge unchanged. There are many radiances there, from the fires in the forge, and her names and her instruments, but one radiance lingers behind them all like fading music. The last light of the sun and splendor, shed in the moments of his division, here where the forge is strongest. Now that I have awoken, I see that radiance still. Every color has grown bright as new dye, but now all of them begin to bleed towards white. So this one's going to be a little tricky to deal with just because it turns into a fascination in the end, but I'm not going to get too upset about that, and I think I'm going to go after the troublemaker now. It takes 60 seconds, so I'll get a nice warning in terms of what's coming up before I need to deal with it. We will want to leave the dream slot available for health. This will buy their loyalty for now. So of course I could use the professional muscle to try and get rid of the weary detective, but that'll just mean that another weary detective comes to take his place. Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I'm saying if that means anything. And my minion has returned, half conscious, bleeding badly. It seems a rival suitor took exception to their efforts. So, first things first, we need to heal Saliba. Perhaps now they'll survive, but there are limits to what the human body can sustain. So this is always a risk, and essentially if the game goes on long enough, I'm going to lose my Grail followers. But this is one of the reasons I've been okay sort of sending Saliba out over and over again, is that basically there's no situation under which I can get 10 Grail with my followers anyway. And so in this case here, I might as well, use Saliba for something useful. In this case, it didn't turn out, but it's fine because we'll have the professional muscle and then now the entry consultant. I suppose the real lesson of Cultist Simulator is if you are an expert and you're being hired by an expert, it probably means they're going to abduct you. Right, the unresolved ambiguity was welcome. Again, remembering that even though we are working on our Evening Isles locations, it still isn't bad to have things like unresolved ambiguities, because we are going to need these for our expeditions anyway. The spider door gapes. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose hammers and crucibles one does not emerge unchanged, and for 9 beats my heart ceased while it entered the fires of the forge, and the passions of the forge entered into it. I woke with the dawn, and its poor divided colors inspire memories of the forge's passion for the sun, of the vagabond's curse, of the Grail's deep longing. So many half-memories. Alright, my investigations turned up no new leads, and we have a Season of Visions coming up again, so nothing too critical. We'll leave it be. So this won't turn into 60 seconds. Like, basically, I would be worried if this turned down to a Lantern 2 with 60 seconds left while the fascination would be coming up. But that's not a problem here. Okay, Season of Despair, so I do need to be careful of any dread that might be popping up. The lessons of experience. The wound is healed, the scar remains, but each scar, as the scholar Shulgar once observed, is a lesson. So that would be Edge. Actually, it says right here, but... Okay, so first thing we want to do is take... Oh, wait, I don't have my headquarters, so... I'm gonna try and hold on with the with the professional muscle. I've increased my knowledge of the secret histories behind the one we know. Okay, so there's our last Vagabond's map to get to the Crystable. I do have the option of painting. I think I'm gonna go for it. Oh, that's no good. Alright, let's go... I'll do the sentimental literature then. Oh, there's no way that this is going to work, so, okay, so... Wait, what did I think was going to happen? I already have my library back. I'm an idiot. Okay. We'll put the funds back. We just need to... Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to where the library was. Old and happy far off things. Moth finds light in the dark, and so do I. So that's a bit of a problem with the Season of Despair coming up. But I should be able to paint it away. Okay, pay for the paint. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. So I don't know if we'll get a lot of glimmering for pure notoriety painting. Seems to me like I'm probably going to wind up with staleness. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. And we have definitely a staleness. My recent work has accrued modest fame. My paintings have reviewed well. We did get a glimmering though, so that helps. I will do another painting when the time comes, but I think I need to do an investigation first. But then that invites the question, what happens with the restlessness which needs to be gotten rid of? Okay, I'm going to accept the trouble at work then. Now I do need to leave a passion available for asking for my job back. Right. Okay. No, that's fine. So I'll have a little trouble at work, but... Okay, we've healed up. Sick room grows close and stale. It's time to get up. We will use the spider's door. The spider's door is always thirsty, always. The blood I have given leaks and threads and spills through the skin of the world, and the door drinks it, and a moment's satisfaction swells its opening until I can pass. When I pass the time, I have been inclined to tears, and afterwards inclined to laughter. Meanwhile, the world continues. So there's going to be a fairly important step here, which is by moving up the Vagabond's map, I am going to lose, moving it up to a Port Noon anecdote, I am going to lose access to the library, so I want to use the bookshop as quickly as I can. So if I do things like, you know, letting my job go, you know, kind of go away or whatever, usually that sort of stuff is just a reflection of having a different priority that I need to deal with at the moment. Or sometimes it's just I'm trying to come up with an idea in terms of the different issues that I want to balance. And in this particular case here, if I wind up with a Season of Despair, or like if I have a dread that goes into that Season of Despair, I have... Basically, the problem that I run into is I need to get a contentment, and the only way that I can get that contentment is by using the explore verb. Well, okay, not the only way. The most reliable way would be using the explore verb. Now, I use the explore verb to extend the life of my Callagine, which has less than 30 seconds to survive. So effectively, choosing to to deal with a dread is either annihilating the Callagine or it's tying up the talk verb, and of course the talk verb is going to be going to be the sort of thing that I use to capture the entry consultant and the hired muscle, or I guess it was hulking fellow. No, hired muscle, professional muscle. And then the drawback with that is I have to, well, actually, if I'm using the talk verb, I couldn't even pay them again. But yeah, you can sort of see how these things tend to... What's actually kind of interesting about how a Cultist Simulator works is that these do cause sort of the dominoes to fall, but it's not always obvious that that's going to be the... Like, it's not always obvious that's the specific problem that you're going to run into, which is interesting in some ways, but also really frustrating in others. You know, I like it because it, you know, it keeps me on my toes. I still get caught by a few things. Whereas, like, it is, believe it or not, like, if you're very familiar with the game, it is surprisingly easy to still fall to an investigation, because I know some of the investigations will go after followers, but I'm not quite sure what sets it, so it's possible, and again, it may even be that they don't pick up followers anymore anyway. But basically this idea that if you don't deal with an evidence, like if you let a damning evidence stay on the table, and you, that's when you send a follower to get rid of it. If that follower fails, it is entirely possible that you are going to lose the game and there's nothing that you can do about it. Or at the very least, what you're hoping for is sort of a succession of, I go to the not stag door. I actually keep making that mistake. It's white door, I think. But yeah, anyways, you try to get the favor from authority, and, even then, that's probabilistic. So it's, like, I think it's clear that with Cultist Simulator, there's no guarantees. But yeah, and you know what? I'm not. This is interesting to me, but maybe not sufficiently interesting to everyone. But yeah, in any case, I think one of the things that I like about what I'm trying to say is one of the things that I like about this is that it's not immediately obvious what the consequences of any individual action is, and even though I'm very familiar with the game, it does mean that there's situations where I can sort of find myself in a corner that I need to get out of, and that can sort of be fun in its own way, because of course I know my way through, and so the question is that, if it gets sufficiently close to the negative outcome, that just gives me a moment of, oh man, am I gonna lose? Because the funny thing is, most of my losses I've actually experienced in the beta when there weren't achievements, and so I don't actually have them in my Steam achievements yet. Although, I know that that would be very disappointing to people if I do an extended run and then don't have a win. I mean, if I lose, I lose, right? There's nothing I can do to stop that. But it wouldn't be the most popular stream I ever did. Anyway, sorry. Let's focus back on the game. So, getting my job back is something of a priority. We will clear out the fascination with the fleeting reminiscence. This will buy their loyalty for now. So it's a little bit of a shame I didn't really pay attention to the fact we were hiring the bomb maker, because I probably am not going to be able to I'm probably not going to be able to use the bookshop on them. The artist's reward. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So I note that we did get some contentment, but I do still have the staleness, so that didn't really work out for me. In any case, we will use our passion as we had planned. 49 seconds left, so why won't they understand? The wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now, and we have to be on our best behavior yet again. So I think what I'll do here with the fleeting reminiscence, I will just do a 4 passion painting, and okay. 4 passion painting, and then we'll hopefully clear out the staleness that way. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose impulses and rotations one does not emerge unchanged. There are many radiances there, and from the fires and the forge, and the names and her instruments. But one radiance lingers behind them all like fading music. The last light of the sudden splendor shed in the moments of his division. Here where the forge is strongest. Now that I have awoken, I see that radiance still. Alright, so first things first, we take the fascination with the fleeting reminiscence. Yeah, so we use the library here, so I'm gonna have to pay to bring the bomb maker back. I mean, that or I just don't hire them again, or I just let them go, but I don't know, I tend to like having a reserve. Out in the night, my follower is whispering words that sometimes they might mean. Even if their victim knows the words are lies, they may not care. I've been reinstated for now. Okay. I suppose the question is, do I want to take another chance with the painting? I have a feeling I'm just creating the same problem over and over again, but let's give this a shot. Oh, that was bad. I don't have any way of defending Fort Jarek. So the best I can do is make a snare if the... Ah! Okay, it's 29 seconds though, so the good news is I can actually start this expedition and keep them from going on. Yeah, that's... I took my eye off the ball. Okay, I'm gonna leave the dream slot open because there may be... I may need to deal with something here. Yeah, we are gonna go... I'm gonna go on a trip. My minion is returned, attended by a prisoner rendered docile with delight. Money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. This will bind their loyalty for now. Okay, so it's going to get a little funny in terms of how I do this, but let's take the fort. We will take the Callagine. I'll use the bomb maker as the assistant because that just gives me a little extra time with them. Throw a bit of money at it. So, Fort Jarek. 300 years ago, a rapacious empire claimed an island ripe with tourmalines. Neither the empire nor the island are mentioned in any reputable history, but the governor's fortress remains. Perhaps his treasures remain, for that matter. Perhaps he does too. So this would give me a good indication that I probably need to bring winter. But again, this is largely about preserving the people that I have first, and then we will address the challenges as they come up. A crumbling sandstone fortress broods over an empty bay. At night the dead walk, by day they lie in wait. In a sealed vault, the old governor's hoard awaits its plunderer. So, a couple forge probably won't hurt here, but I don't actually... Okay, no, we've got 13, so we're fine. I think I can get away by getting Saliba to bring someone else in. I do feel like a little bit of a clown not going to the spider's door, but I have the impression I may be able to use the... Oh, you know what? No, I should have used the snare. I don't think I'm going to get that in time. Well, maybe. Here's another who would ascend before me. Independent occultists try to monopolize the attention of the hours. They may also conduct other schemes, whether you like it or not. So I think there's some time Yeah, I'm gonna let Saliba run through. All conviction, the world goes away. Create something distinctive and beautiful. It will very likely enhance my reputation. Okay, so we've got a sealed door, which is good for forge. Also the Western Sea, which will help. So I need to add money. I also need to add winter. You know what? I should add the winter before I add the money. Alright, my recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. And I still have the staleness. Really been getting out of these is mystique. Alright, so I was worried about that. That's why I kept the dream slot open. Now this... to give you an example of how badly I messed this up, I don't have a troublemaker to go after, and I don't have evidence to use against them. So I am not able to leverage the inspector's position into work. I think if I'm going to lose a run, it is almost certainly going to be on a Monday episode. Nothing then. Alright, so what we're going to do here, we're going to take Eldridge, and we're going to get him to study Karashim. Alright, the Sailor's Surety. Our forge skills represent plenty of expertise. We'll almost certainly make it through. So here we'll add the funds, just because we have extra challenges coming up. Let's plead for reinstatement. Why won't they understand? Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to use this fleeting reminiscence on this. Alright, an opportunity to use a snare. 35 seconds, it's not ideal, but rivals are cautious. They don't prowl the streets like hunters. To defeat one, we must prepare a trap and await our opportunity. Save across the sea, wave lashed and sea spattered, sun scorched and salt stained. But here. Okay, it's not a whole lot for me to work with, to be completely honest, but I am going to wait this out because it becomes a fleeting reminiscence. The Wolf Despair crawls elsewhere, and then we'll be able to clear that out in just a minute. And I suspect the sealed bureau file will be coming up, so we'll use our reason on that. Okay. Another season of ambitions coming up. Want hungers drive me. I'm disciplined. I am all discipline. I haven't lasted this long to give up so easily. So we'll add Eau Claire just as in preparation for the Walking Dead. Yes, so the adequate snare is not going to be ready in time. If I didn't try to get Saliba, it wouldn't have worked out. But in any case, the expectation here is that he's going to plunder the... Oh, no, my rival has failed in their expedition. Whatever they sought here, they haven't found it. They've abandoned their expedition for now. And I've increased my knowledge of the secret histories behind the one we know. Alright, so there's our Port Noon anecdote. That's going to have to sit around on the table for a bit, so I can't upgrade the Vagabond's map because we had to go on this expedition. But I still feel like I made the right choice here. So maybe what we do is we take the Furtive Truths and we upgrade those, because they just need... actually, we've got... Well, Glamouring's not going to last long enough. Yeah, I think we'll just upgrade the Furtive Truths while we can. Whatever they sought here, they haven't found it. They've abandoned their expedition for now. Okay, so let's keep the Suppression Bureau happy. I think I may wind up with a restlessness as a result of this next one. An adequate snare, my followers prepared a stratagem which, with considerable luck, might defeat a rival's plans. So these things don't last that long. It's 300 seconds. I mean, 300 seconds is okay, but definitely it's not the sort of thing I want to rely on. All right, so we call upon the ivory dove, who knows the names of all the dead. The dead circle the edge of our vision like frayed dreams. The very air around us is chill with winter's shadow. They must recognize that. So we'll give that one its finale. I think I am going to get Saliba to go out and get another person. And we get a well-deserved season of silence. So I will use all my passion to paint away the staleness if I can. But I think in general we're in a slightly better spot. Okay. I think on that note, yeah, we can... So yeah, I'll actually make it I'll make it a cliffhanger. So we'll see how the expedition goes. Again, a couple of blunders there. I don't want to beat myself up too much over, over the expedition stuff, because there's okay, the example that I'll give of this would be the difference between the 1 dread in a season of despair versus 2 dread, or the tentative evidence versus damning evidence. The first level of any threat is a warning that you need to take it seriously, but you have time to deal with it. As soon as it gets to that second level, you are basically one bit of bad luck away from a loss. So if you do a careless painting with a lot of passion and you get a fascination during a season of visions where you already have 2, you better hope that you've got a fleeting reminiscence, a dread, like a fleeting reminiscence or a dread. You better have that in your pocket and ready to go, otherwise you're going to lose. If it's damning evidence, it absolutely is the case that you will have a season of suspicion that comes straight after, and that will ruin your playthrough. That's something that, unless you happen to have a well-timed moth follower and you can really get the timings down, you're effectively relying on that event to sort of take you away. So, those are the ones that are absolutely make or breaks. The level ones are the ones where you can sort of afford to have a little bit more looseness. So in this particular case here, as long as I had Fort Garrick, or Jarrick, again, I'm probably mispronouncing it. So Fort Jarrick, as long as I had that locked away somehow, so that would either be in a conversation, or actually I don't think there's conversations where I could use that. Making a snare would actually let me do that, but it's I couldn't have made a snare in time to have it locked away. But yeah, essentially what I was facing down was a troublemaker that had a 1 in 3 chance of selecting one of the difficult to get locations in the Evening Isles. That was the possibility that I needed to face, and so. Would you want a 1 in 3 chance of having to do something very difficult, right? I don't know, if your coworker comes up to you and says, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of having to work, a full shift, each day of the weekend and then still work your full weekday. I realize that this is completely not what, statistically, in terms of the people who watch the channel, I think it's fair to say there's a solid number of people who do not have conventional Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 sort of jobs. But I think you get what I'm talking about, right? Your weekend, you're going to have to take that all away with, on this 1 out of 3 bet. I was like, what do you get for it? A coffee or something, pretty straightforward. You probably wouldn't take that bet, right? The amount of inconvenience that's being imposed on you, even in a low probability event. And even then, 1 in 3 is not that rare. It's something that you're going to want to avoid. And so essentially here, is it inconvenient for me to have to deal with all of these expeditions? Sure. I mean, it's not my favorite thing to have the explore verb taken up like this, because now I've got sort of a logjam in terms of the research pipeline. And obviously I'm not going to be able to take these followers and turn them into... Actually, hang on. Didn't I have a entry consultant at some point? Or I guess I must have already gotten rid of them. But yeah, in this case here with the bomb maker, right? I'm waiting to be able to use the library on them to turn them into a follower betrayed. Just there's a number of things that are inconvenient out of that, but it's not as inconvenient as having to bring everything back up to another Port Noon anecdote. So that's the logic behind it. Anyways, I made this, used to be on time, and now it's like 5 minutes late. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you all on Wednesday. Again, Tuesday is an off day for the broadcast, although I know you've probably noticed that there's a lot of Book of Hours. I've now posted all of those online, so we're going to have to be waiting for the next phase of the Book of Hours beta. But I will see you all Wednesday for more of the story of the Librarian run. Until then, take care.